wherever two or more of you are gathered in his name, there is love. There is love.
La la
This girl belongs to me. She's my girl. When we walk down the street, I would tell everyone we meet, this is my girl. She
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now.
Hey, everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. And hey, yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. Hey, this is not a funeral, it's a revolution after all. Your tears have turned to rage. Just wait, everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like you're going down in flames. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. They can't do nothing to you, they can't do nothing to me. This is the life that we choose, this is the life that we bleed. So throw your fists in the air, come out if you dare. Tonight we're gonna change forever. Everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
It's UUCC Zoom In Live with special guest Randy Partain. Here's your host, David Cantor.
Well, good evening, everybody. Glad you're with us tonight for UUCC Zoom in Live. I'd normally say right now, please welcome our co-host, Will Barrett. But for those of you who watch the show to see the co-host, you're out of luck tonight because Will's not with us tonight. So Will was planning on being here, but alas, he, as some of you might know, he works for the Cleveland Indians. No, he is not their starting shortstop, but he does work in their concessions area. And he got a schedule yesterday and they said, hey, Will, you got to work tomorrow. So Will is not here tonight. So we're going to see if I can manage a show myself. Fortunately, I have an ace producer and hopefully a guest who will be able to make me still look semi-good tonight. We know how hard a task that is. So Will is headed on back to Kent in the next week or so to get ready for classes. He's filled out, went back to his dorm last week, if I recall correctly, came back this week to work for the Indians, and then he's back to school. But he will be back here for one more show on our September show. In fact, speaking about getting back, I just got back today. Mary Ellen, my wife, and I, that's two of us, not three of us, were down in Houston visiting our other producer, Liz Cantor, who happens to be my daughter, checking her and her husband out in their new place in Houston. So we're down there for 5 or 6 days. It's so weird. So the weather in Houston, you look at this pure stats for the temperature and the humidity. It doesn't look so much different from Cleveland. But I tell you what, 90 there with high humidity is not the same as 90 here with high humidity. It still feels like 1,000 degrees down there, I got to say. Although, of course, Randy would know this better than I would since he just came here from there. And one final note for you guys to all remember is that we are on our final show countdown. I know some of you are not very happy about that, and I apologize for that. But tonight is the third show from the end of UUCC Zoom in Live. We have a show tonight, a show in 2 weeks, and a show on the second Monday of September, and then we're going to call it a show then. So we hope that you enjoy tonight's show and come back the next couple of times as well. A couple of quick reminders for you. First of all, use the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to announce yourself. Make sure you send it to everybody and not just the panelists, because your fellow congregants want to know that you are here. And of course, I know that many of you have been with us before, so thanks for coming back. If it's your first time with us, we're glad you're here. And as I already mentioned, we've only got a couple of shows after tonight. They're going to be great shows, though, so tell your UUCC friends, the more the merrier. And if you have missed a past show and want to check it out, many of the episodes are on the UUCC YouTube channel. Some episodes aren't there because I haven't gotten around to cleaning up the music that I'm not allowed to have played on the show. So there's some editing needs to be done on those, but there are a fair selection of shows out there you might want to check out. So, as you know, we've established the Jack Ullman, gosh, I wonder who's clearing his throat right there. We established the Jack Ullman comedy moment. We hear some jokes from Jack. And of course, his jokes are the one guaranteed moment of levity on the show. So everybody, please welcome Jack Ullman. Jack.
Thanks, David. As you know, I will be speaking to the Shaker Heights Historical Society on August the 20th. The topic is Cocktails with the Commodore. Refreshments will be served, so reservations are recommended. Google Shaker Heights Historical Society /events to reserve a seat. The event is free, but donations are encouraged to cover costs. Speaking of speeches and ministers, I heard Harry Reasoner of 60 Minutes fame offer this story at the opening celebration of Tri-C West many years ago. Reasoner's father was a Lutheran minister and known for very long sermons. Once, while delivering an especially long homily, he glanced at his watch and said, "My watch has stopped. Does anyone have the time?" A comedian in the congregation replied, "No, but there's a calendar behind you." That same church had a hand dryer in the men's room. Someone put a note above the button saying, "For pastor's next sermon, press here." It is said that that particular minister, every sermon is better than the next one. Poor pastor. Finally, I once brought my stockbroker to a service at UUCC. She had just moved to Shaker, and I thought she might be interested. At the conclusion of the service, I asked her what she thought. "Why, I don't believe half of what that minister said." "Excellent," I replied, "you fit right in." Well, that's it for Jack's jokes, David. Back to you.
Hey, Jack, thanks so much for being with us this evening, as always. Always good for a laugh or two. Thank you so much, Jack. So without any further ado, our special guest tonight is the Reverend Randy Partain, who some of you might know just joined us last week as our parish minister. So that's about all the intro I'm going to give you. The rest of it you'll hear about during our conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm UUCC welcome to Reverend Randy Partain. You can hear them all applauding because they're all on mute. So it's just you and me. So Randy, thanks so much for agreeing to be on the show. Thanks so much. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking me to be here. I've just gotten a note that my internet connection is unstable. So I guess my internet connection fits right in at UUCC too.
Clearly with everything else that's going on there. That's right. Yeah. So that leads right into my first question for you. So how's your move going? Did you sell your house in Houston? Have you found a place to stay here yet? Have you moved in yet? Tell us all about that.
Well, we have sold our house in Houston. Everything was a little more complicated and time consuming than I wish it had been, but it's done. And so that's the good news. We have a house here in University Heights, which is where I am right now. And we are moving in. There's still boxes everywhere. There's some furniture that hasn't been put together yet and all of that stuff, but little by little, we're getting there.
So is Joy up here yet? I know she had a bunch of stuff to still take care of in Houston. Has she made it here yet?
Yes, she has been in town for about 72 hours now. She got here Friday night.
Ah, excellent. So it's a good thing. So, because we needed a member of UUCC in Houston. So she came up here. I was down in Houston at the time, so I had to cover at least an extra couple of days. So
yeah, we appreciate you covering that. That was really gracious of you.
No worries. Yeah. So let's get started by letting people know a little bit more about you. So, I know that you must feel as though you shared your personal history a bunch of times while you were going through candidating. But I think, just a wild guess, I think we have to assume that not everybody remembers everything you said about it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
So, nor I. So let's give them a brief refresher. Let's start off with the basics. Where you're from, how was your family growing up, what religion did you grow up in? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we're coming from being in Houston 23 years, but no person who was born in Houston would call us Houstonians. It was home for us for 23 years, but I was born in Florida and lived there through college. I guess you were asking about my religious upbringing. It was Protestant, but my grandfather was a Baptist minister. He worked for the Baptist Mission Board, preaching for the Spanish-speaking folks in Florida because he was Italian, and the Southern Baptist Mission Board thought Italian, Spanish, pretty much the same thing. So I had that influence growing up. But my mom thought that the people at the Baptist church where I lived as a young child were rude. She thought they were too rude for her. And so we went to the Methodist church because she thought Protestant is Protestant. So most of my church life was as a Methodist in my youth. I started music ministry in a Methodist church. And then was a music minister for a variety of Christian churches as an adult, and eventually veered away from that. But Florida was a good place to grow up in some ways. I got to know a lot of great people there. I'm still friends with a couple of folks that I went to high school with, and so lasting relationships were forged there. It's nice to be in a place that's going to have a little different climate from Florida and Houston, though. So I'm looking forward to a little change of pace now.
Yeah, well, we'll check in with you about that in February, but that's okay. You can keep saying that now.
Please.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, did you go to church routinely? And was church a major part of your life when you were younger?
Yeah, it was. I was an acolyte in the Methodist Church, which is one of the younger people that will light the candles before the service, help the minister with various tasks. I was in the music program there. I did some various things. I remember that I was in some kind of a church drama thing, but I don't really remember much about it. I just remember that I did it. But being musical, there was always an opportunity to show off a little bit in churches. So that was a part of my upbringing. We were pretty regular church attendees when I was growing up.
So what's the biggest lesson that you learned as you were growing up?
The biggest lesson I learned in churches?
No, just in general. Biggest
Oh,
lesson
just
you
in
learned.
general.
Yep.
Oh my. Well, okay. So the biggest lesson that I learned growing up is one that I've tried to unlearn a lot as an adult, because the biggest lesson I learned growing up is don't be too big for your britches, which is kind of like stay small, play small. Don't stand out. Don't draw attention to yourself, because if you draw attention to yourself, somebody's going to want to knock you down a peg, or somebody's want to criticize you or something like that. And so one of the early lessons that I learned was, if you don't speak up, then nobody can criticize you and you're not going to get into trouble about anything. I've had to unlearn that. I think that's a continual lesson, because a lot of things that I want to accomplish as an adult require me to play big and to speak out and to draw attention, and playing small just doesn't work.
Yeah. So what are your favorite memories about your growing up years?
Well, a lot of my favorite memories have to do with my grandparents. They had a place in North Carolina. We would go there in the summer, and I loved being there in the mountains, in the Blue Ridge Mountains there. And it was just a beautiful part of the country. My stepdad was into road trips. I don't know whether my mom really was ever into it or whether she just went along with it. But when he went on vacation, it was piling in the car and driving somewhere and seeing all the little things along the way. He wanted to stop and read every historical sign that there was between where we started and wherever we were going. And I still love going on road trips. I enjoyed the drive up from Houston to Cleveland. I like being on the road and having that experience of transition. But I'm not sure that I was a great traveler as a kid. I don't know that I was really a joy to be around when I was in the backseat of the car, but my memories of it are good. I remember it being happy times.
So I didn't go on many road trips as a kid. I remember doing one when I lived in New York City at the time. I remember my mother and I took a road trip with my uncle and my aunt and their two kids. We drove from New York through the Amish country, Hershey, Pennsylvania, the Amish country, then down to DC for a few days. That's the only road trip I remember as a kid. So I didn't have many of those. And so as an adult, when I had kids, we did many road trips. In fact, we were talking about some of those with my daughter the last couple of days down memory road and telling stories to my son-in-law about our road trips as a kid, going to Minneapolis, I know it's weird places, Minneapolis, what have you, and having a grand old time doing all that. So tell us about school, about you and school, and about how that worked out. Were you studying ministry as a 10-year-old? Tell us all about that a little bit.
I was not studying ministry as a 10-year-old, but as I was going through high school, I did have my eyes on ordained ministry in the Methodist Church, because that's what I was familiar with. But I was a good student. I didn't have to try very hard in academic classes. By the time I was in high school, I think I had three hours of music classes as a junior. I was accompanying the choir, and I played piano in the jazz ensemble, and I was in the band. And by my senior year, I was doing dual enrollment. They didn't have a lot of AP classes when I was going in through high school, but they had dual enrollment. So my senior year of high school was my first year of college. And in some ways that was really great, but in some ways I think that I missed out on some of the social things that would have been nice about high school. Some of the memories that people have about their senior year,
Yeah.
I don't relate to as well.
So
there was a trade-off there for sure.
Yeah.
But early on, I was in the candidacy process for ministry in the United Methodist Church. And it was when I was graduating college. I was filling out the application for seminary at that point to go on straight from college into seminary. And there were some questions on there that I really wasn't sure about. And I thought, I need to do a little more soul searching before I make this decision. And the more soul searching I did, the less and less Christian I became. So over time, it was great to be able to discover opportunities for ministry that didn't involve believing things that I just couldn't believe, but being able to support other people in living with integrity to their beliefs. And so it's been a circuitous route, but it has touched on the same landmarks over and over again. I'll say that.
So we're going to come back to that in just a couple of minutes. I want to go on to a couple of other things first.
Sure.
So tell us about how and when you met Joy. How did all that come to pass?
Well, I met Joy in college. We went to a liberal arts school in Lakeland, Florida, which is about halfway between Tampa and Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
And we were both music majors. She was a vocal major and I was a piano major, and I was her accompanist. And that's how we met, was making music together.
There are many ways of interpreting that, Reverend Partain.
Hey, this is one of those literal interpretation times.
So talk to us a bit about, when did it hit you that you wanted to be, when did it seriously hit you that you wanted to be, or you were supposed to be a minister? How did all that come to pass?
Well, I don't know that there was a lightning bolt moment.
Oh, you didn't have one of those? Seriously? Okay.
Yeah, it was just life kept drawing me back to that. I know some people talk about a call, and to me, I would say that call comes from within me rather than from something external to me. But life and my own longing to be in that sort of relationship with other folks, it just kept being a pull. So when I was not going into ordained ministry, I still was being fulfilled by music ministry, and I appreciated being able to be a minister in that respect in various Christian churches. And as I got to feel like more of an imposter in those circles, leaving the church, the hardest thing was losing that sense of purpose and that sense of community. So I started looking. I was just talking with some folks on yesterday's conversation before the service. I started looking for community. And when I looked for atheist community, it was a bunch of people who were angry at the church, and they just wanted to be angry together. And I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for what comes next. You know, how do we continue to create wholeness and well-being and justice? And how do we care for the world if we're not doing it because of God? And so there were some humanist societies and that sort of thing. I became a humanist celebrant, which is you have all of the legal rights and responsibilities of clergy, but there's not an actual community. There's not an actual church. I was doing celebrations of life for people and performing wedding ceremonies, but not really building community the way that I wanted. So discovering the Unitarian Universalist Church and how that opened the doors of possibility to be my authentic self, and also to be in that kind of ministerial role with people, it was just amazing. It was a huge freeing, it made my heart sing, because that really is, I think, an internal pull for me to be in that role, helping people to live with integrity to the things that they really value, and to care for people in a way that's actually pretty specialized. There's not a whole lot of jobs like minister. You know, it's a real privilege to have this role.
So I want to go back just for a minute, because you mentioned before about thinking about going right into Methodist minister school out of college, and you say you had things to fill out, and you were wondering about this thing, I don't believe that, what have you. Were there any specific things that popped out that you said, I don't believe that, I can't do this, that doesn't make any sense to me?
Well, the Methodist Church today is not that different from the Methodist Church then, but so there were not any, you must take the Bible as the literal word of God or anything like that I was uncomfortable with. But they were asking me about how I would define my ministry, what my vision for ministry was, you know, big picture kind of things. The Unitarian Universalist Church asked the same thing. When you go through fellowshipping, they will say, what is your vision for what it looks like for you to be a minister? But I had a lot of years to think about it between when I started doing that with the Methodist Church and when I started doing that with the Unitarian Universalist Church. So, so it was those big picture ideas of what does it look like for you to be in meaningful ministry? And I needed to take time to figure those things out. The theological questions, I don't know, they were there. There were some questions that I didn't feel like I could ask openly in the Christian settings where I was about, do people really believe in this? You know, there are some doctrinal things about Jesus's life and identity that never really made sense to me as an adult. They made sense to me as a kid because everybody around me said it was so, and I just took that for granted. I just assumed that they wouldn't lie to me about that, and they must believe it, and it must make sense to them. But you know, the way that people live sometimes is more of a reflection than what they say they believe, and that was kind of the thing that got my brain working, gnawing on some of this stuff. If you really believe this, then how can you live in this way? So the integrity piece of it was important to me. And as I was filling out that paperwork, I wasn't confident that I could answer those questions about what my ministerial identity was going to be with integrity at that point.
So you kind of talked about going from there and landing in humanism. How, I'm assuming it was like a hop, skip, and a jump to get from there to UU, but I guess I'm curious as to how did you discover it? When did you discover it? How did all that pop to you? What appealed to you about it?
Well, after I left Christianity, even as I was still a music minister, as I was working as a music minister, my personal spirituality became exploratory, you know. I love paganism. I love the ritual and the engaging of the imagination. So in my personal spiritual practices, there's a lot of paganism. A non-theistic pagan is how I would say my personal spirituality is. And as I was talking with folks about wanting to build community, you know, there are pagan communities that are in Texas. There are lots of pagans, but they have their own rules and restrictions too. They have their own way, their own orthodoxy.
There are pagan rules?
There are rules.
No crap.
They're not all the same, but different groups have their orthodoxy, their way of practicing, their way of believing. And even some of that was kind of, it was difficult to find a place that really felt like home. I could have conversations and I could have, you know, more public rituals and be comfortable with that. But when I was talking to folks about it, it was a friend of mine that actually said, have you ever heard of Unitarian Universalism? And I said, I don't think so, which was wrong because I had heard of it because it was in this book. I've told a lot of UUCC folks this, but it was in this book I had as a high schooler in the Christian church. There's a book that's called The Kingdom of the Cults, and Unitarian Universalism gets a page in that book. And the real funny thing is they don't have to lie to make Unitarian Universalism sound awful, because it's like, they don't believe in the divinity of Jesus. They believe everybody's going to heaven. They think all of this, and it's all true, but from a conservative Christian standpoint, it just sounds horrible. It's a horror story. So I had not experienced Unitarian Universalism though. And so my experience of Unitarian Universalism was that there were all of these people that came together and their beliefs were all over the spectrum. In fact, the first Unitarian Universalist church that I attended in Houston, there's a prominent member there that is very staunch pro-life. And there were sermons that I'm sure he just cringed about, but he wanted to be in community with those people. And he wanted to build the same world that those people wanted to build. And he wanted to be in relationship with a multicultural community of folks that cared about what they were creating together. And that to me was amazing, that sense that our promises, our covenants with one another matters more than what we believe. It matters more than whatever doctrine we're taught. that relationships, that the human beings around us actually matter that much, that we're going to build a religious institution that honors that and that has that as its foundation. That was amazing to me.
So in my upbringing, I was raised an Orthodox Jew way back when, didn't go to synagogue very regularly, and didn't actually attend a house of worship regularly until I started going to First Unitarian Church, one of UUCC's predecessors. And so I didn't get much of this at the very beginning, but what you're talking about right now is why I throw so much of my energy into UUCC. It's exactly what you're saying. It's an issue about being in community with a whole bunch of folks. I talk all the time about how UUCC is my second extended family. That's why how I view these folks. That's why sometimes I get so hot about things, because we're talking about my family here. And you don't mess with my family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's switch gears for a minute and get off this heavy stuff, and let's go through the Colbert lightning round. Now, for those of you who have been watching the show, you know what this is all about. These are some questions that Stephen Colbert started asking guests on his show way back when, and I happened to catch the first show he did this, and I liked it so much that I adapted it for our show here. So Randy knows that we're doing this. He does not know what I'm going to be asking him. And so, so again, it's a lightning round. So no explanations. I ask a question, you give an answer. We go on to the next one, and then we'll see, geez, those are answers were cool. So let's get on with it. So
Okay.
I have 10 questions for you today. First question, what's the best sandwich?
The best sandwich is the best sandwich is a grilled cheese sandwich, but it's got to be the right kind.
They don't get any easier than that one, Randy, I got to tell you. So just so you're warned about that. What's your favorite movie?
Fight Club.
Mm-hmm. What's the trait you value most in your friends?
Honesty.
What's the scariest animal?
The platypus.
Platypus. What do you think happens when we die?
We become worm food.
What's your favorite?
You know what happens when we die is that we live on in the legacy that we create in the lives of others, is the honest ministerial answer. And
I was going to say that's more of a ministerial answer there. Yeah,
I do believe that.
Yeah. Although most people believe that you believe worm food too, but never mind.
Both are true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What's your favorite smell?
Cinnamon right now.
Yeah, good smell. Who's the living person you most admire?
Oh, wow. Living person I most admire. I'm going to say my sister.
Hold that thought. So what's the most used app on your cell phone?
The most used app is Maps.
Mm-hmm. What's the best concert you ever attended?
9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine.
And describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
The rest of my life, like from here forward?
5 words.
Nothing but gratitude for everything.
Well said. So tell us about your sister. Why you admire her the most?
My sister, well, I'm not going to say a whole lot about her personal life and her marriage and all that stuff. I'll just say that she's divorced and she's raising a son, my nephew, who is on the autism spectrum and is an amazing young man. He's in high school now, and it's been a real challenge. It was not something that she expected, and yet she loves him so much, and she does not cut him any slack. She doesn't coddle him. She treats him like she has the highest hopes for him, and she should. I mean, he has really done well with the care that she has been able to find for him, but it wasn't always easy to find the right places where he was going to be able to thrive, because a lot of places want the person to adapt to the world around them. You know, the person has a problem, and if the person has some kind of psychiatric issue, or if it's autism, or whatever happens to be with the individual, then there are a lot of places that just want the individual to adapt to the world around them. And she was never satisfied with that for him. And she wanted to find places that would accept who he is and how he sees things and how he does things, and work with that and honor that and celebrate that. And she's an exemplar of that. She celebrates who he is instead of trying to talk about it like there's something wrong with him. And there are a lot of places where that still happens, even the places where you expect to receive care. So her tenacity with that, and with her own life and the way that she finds ways to care for herself and to do things that are meaningful for her, it's really impressive.
Thanks for sharing with us. Thank
Yeah.
you. So let's use a Star Trek metaphor here, and let's do a bit of a verbal Vulcan mind meld with you into the thought process of a minister entering a new congregation. So start beginning. How's it feel? How's it feel starting off?
There is just so much. I mean, there's so much to pay attention to. There's so much to be curious about. I don't know that a mind meld with me is going to be like a mind meld with another minister, but you know, there's this walking in and looking at things and saying, I wonder why it's that way, but I don't know that I need to change it. I just am curious about it, you know? And people have asked what I want for my office. And I've been there. I think I've been in my office maybe 4 or 5 days, but you know, it's hard because I'm looking around and saying, this is a space that has a history and it has a feel to it. And I don't know what my addition is going to be yet. And so it's this, it's like dating, because even just the physical space is kind of like, you're getting to know it and you're figuring things out about it. And do I really like this color, or does it go with is this going to be the place where I want these books on the shelf? Because I might not be reaching for them as often as I'm going to reach for these other books. And why don't I have more physical books that I've gotten on Kindle? Because now I'm reading stuff on Kindle and I want people to walk in my office and see certain books, because it would be a good conversation starter. And so maybe I need to buy physical copies of some books that I really only read on Kindle. And then there's all of the conversations with people. And so the space is one thing, but then there's all of the conversations with people. And what are the expectations? And what does this person want from me? And what do they need from me? And are those the same thing? Because probably not. And how do I step in and participate in a way that makes sense without stepping on anybody's toes? Last Sunday, here's a great Vulcan mind meld for you. Last Sunday, we got halfway through the service in the parking lot. There had been all kinds of emails and thoughts about what's going to happen with the weather. Should we call off the service? And the general consensus was, no, it's all going to be fine. Let's just continue as planned. And for those of you who are there, you know, the bottom just fell out of the sky about halfway through the service, and it kept going. But it's my first day. I was coming from a context, even a lot of my experience as a music minister, my memory, just the body feel of what you do as a minister is you stick around, you help out. I come from a setting where the minister picked up the garbage and put out chairs and did all the things that needed to be done. Everything was always all hands on deck. So when the rain started coming down, I stayed in the tent. A lot of the parishioners went inside. I stayed under the tent with the music equipment with Mike Carney and some of the musicians, thinking that I would be helpful. But there were so many people that were already going to be helping that I was just taking up space under the tent. And so I got to go inside because Lou Salza had an umbrella. And so I got to go inside and stay relatively dry. and see the rest of the service in there. And of course, it was done raining by the time Alan was done with his sermon, but that's beside the point. It was just this wonderful reminder about what had attracted me to UUCC in the first place, because it was this reminder that I could be the minister, that there was a role for me to play that was a specific role, and that I could relax into that role because other people were going to be doing the other things, that there were people who were going to step up and do the things that needed to be done. And that the thing for me to do is to be the minister. And that was just this, it was this awakening and this recognition was here. And it was this reminder of why I had found the place attractive and the community attractive in the first place. So the last week has been, okay, so what does the minister do in this situation, rather than what needs to be done, just generally speaking. And it's been a really satisfying week as a result.
So
More to come, I'm sure.
Small wager, probably, yeah. So you have some notions about UUCC, some impressions about the congregation and the congregants from the search process. So how do you go about testing out those impressions and those notions, validating them, correcting yourself, gaining new insights? How do you go about doing that kind of stuff?
It's just building relationship with people. I don't start conversations with preconceived notions. I mean, I have biases because I'm a human being, and we all do, but I do my very best to be curious and to ask questions and to let people's answers be what I take in, rather than try to interpret or suss out what they really mean. I let people's responses be what they are. My goal is to talk to a lot of folks in the next few months and to do kind of a listening tour of UUCC, because I don't think that I know what everybody thinks. And I don't think that the search process gave me the full picture of the community. So I want to get to know individuals and do a bit of listening and interview folks the way you do, but with some specific questions in mind about their experience of the congregation and the community, and what they value, what they long for, who they admire, what just sticks out to them. And then I'll have a better quilt of what's going on at UUCC. Right now, I'm just coming in the door and just at the very, very threshold of building relationship. So if I know a third of the congregation by the time I'm finishing up this year, I'll be satisfied, because I think that this first year is really just about building trust, building relationship. And I don't know what needs to happen. I'm open to what the outcomes of those trusting relationships happen to be.
See, you've already kind of answered this a couple of different ways, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. So when he was president, Bill Clinton had a note on his desk that said, "It's the economy, stupid," as a constant reminder of what his top priority ought to be. What would you have on your desk?
It's relationships, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh goodness, look at the time already. I'm going to ask you just the last couple of questions. We'll let other folks take our break in a minute. Wow, we've zoomed by this time here. So what do you enjoy doing when you're not doing church stuff?
Well, I am looking forward to getting out and seeing some of the natural beauty in the area. There's a lot of places that are on my radar that people have suggested that I would like to get out and be able to do some hiking and walking and that sort of thing. So I enjoy being in green spaces. I also enjoy collaborative board games. I like competitive board games too, but there's something about cooperating together in a board game that just we learn so much, and we learn how to communicate and cooperate in other ways outside of the game. I love role-playing games. I like some computer games, but the real juiciness for me is when you're able to sit around a table with other human beings and create something, that collaborative storytelling. So those are some things that I really love to do. And I just, we just got our piano assembled on Friday. It's been sitting here waiting to be put together for a few days, but now it's assembled. I need to get it tuned because I do enjoy playing the piano. I've got some lemon oil and got it polished up from the move, but it needs to be tuned. So that's something else I really enjoy.
So when you play piano, what do you like playing? What kind of music?
Well, I enjoy jazz and classical stuff. I would say that my piano compositions are more contemplative piano stuff. And if you're really, really curious, I think there's an album on Spotify that has some of my early contemplative piano stuff. But I've written some music for UU church services in the past. And if it's a topic that just inspires me to write something, then I have done that, but it's not something I do all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy playing some Pat Metheny tunes. I love playing impressionist stuff, Debussy and Ravel, and there's some American impressionists, early 20th century stuff that I enjoy.
Great. Last question for you, then we'll go to break here. And it's the question we ask all of our guests, and that is, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, I want that thing where you can like turn back time just like 5 minutes and just do those 5 minutes over again. I just want that.
You want those 5-minute mulligans, huh?
Yeah. Today, that's what I want. I mean, I would say something else tomorrow, but today, yeah, I want the 5-minute mulligan superpower where you just hit the stopwatch and you just go back 5 minutes and try it again.
Well, Randy, thanks for your answers. And gang, we're going to take a brief break now to get your questions for Randy organized. If you have a question to ask, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and ask it. Do not use the chat button. We don't go check that out. We'll get things organized for you to ask your questions when we return. But first, our mid-show music break with the song Heroes by Mons Selmerlo. See you in a few minutes.
What has been done? Let's run for cover. What if I'm the only hero left? You better fire off your gun once and forever. He said go dry your eyes and live your life like there is no tomorrow, son, and tell the others to go sing it like a hummingbird, the greatest anthem ever heard. We are the heroes of our time, but we're dancing with the demons in our minds. We are the heroes of our time, heroes, but we're dancing with the demons in our minds, heroes. We are the heroes of our time, heroes, but we're dancing with the demons in our minds, heroes. The crickets sing a song for you, don't say a word, don't make a sound. It's life's creation. I make worms turn into butterflies, wake up and turn this world around in appreciation. He said, I've never left your side when you were lost, I followed right behind. Was your foundation. Now go sing it like a hummingbird, greatest anthem ever heard. Now sing together. We are the heroes of our time, heroes, but we're dancing with the demons in our minds, heroes. We are the heroes. Now go sing it like a hummingbird, the greatest anthem ever heard. Now sing together. We are the heroes of our time. Heroes. But we're dancing with the demons in our minds. Heroes. We are the heroes of our time. Heroes. But we're dancing with the demons in our minds. Heroes. We are the heroes.
And we're back. So that was Heroes by Måns Zelmerlöw, easy for me to say, a Swedish pop singer, songwriter, and TV presenter. First came into the public eye, at least in Sweden, when he appeared in the 2005 Swedish version of American Idol, and he did not win, he finished 5th. But he did win the 2006 show Let's Dance, which is Sweden's version of Dancing with the Stars. Randy suggested this song that we played, which is from Måns's 2015 album, Perfectly Damaged. I pronounced that one up at least. So Randy, how'd you come across this guy and this song?
Well, I do a lot of role-playing games, and I enjoy making playlists for some of the characters. And one of the things that comes up a lot is this idea of our heroic identity. So the chorus of that song just really speaks to me, because we have this potential to step up and to be heroic in so many circumstances, and yet we are always getting tangled up with our own inner voices and the demons of our mind, you know, the promises that we made about how we were going to play small or you know, whatever it happens to be. So yeah, I like the reminder that we are heroes. It's a matter of us choosing how we're going to live it out.
So are you ready to take some questions from your studio audience?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Okay, so we're going to start with Dawn. Dawn, you're on with Reverend Randy Partain. What do you got?
I am so happy to be here this evening. I have a question. It's a follow-up question about your grilled cheese statement.
Okay.
How do you make your grilled cheese? Like, what types of cheeses do you use? Like, what makes a really good grilled cheese? And also, just so you know, we do have a local restaurant here called Melt that's all about grilled cheese sandwiches.
Okay. It is kind of the ultimate comfort food. And I think just because there's so much chaos around right now, I think that's why my mind went to comfort food. I think one of the best cheeses for grilled cheese is like a young unsmoked Gouda would be really good. And I like a bread that's not too simple. I like bread that's got like seeds in it, like you know, something. And it's got to have butter on the bread. I don't know what other people do, but it probably needs to be slathered in butter that gets browned really nicely when you flip it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Melt and see what they've got, because I don't have all of the answers when it comes to grilled cheese, and they probably do.
So Randy, you know, I was going to ask you this if you didn't mention it already, because there's this huge controversy. I don't eat grilled cheese sandwiches myself. I did not grow up with them, so I don't eat them. When I learned how to make them for my kids and they were growing up, the outsides are always slathered in butter, as you indicated. But as I've gotten older, I've realized there's this huge controversy about whether or not the outside of the sandwich ought to be in butter or mayonnaise. Have you ever tried them with mayonnaise on the outside?
No, I don't think I would ever do such a thing.
You're cringing. I just want to point that out to you. I'm with you on this. Mayonnaise makes me cringe in any case, but okay. Dawn, thanks for your question. Next up is Allison Bastion. Allison, you're on with Randy. What do you got?
Yay, Randy. Hi, how are you? My question is, what was your favorite subject in high school?
Oh, well, you know, you heard me say, Allison, that I was in all kinds of music classes.
Yeah,
I enjoyed those classes. But if I'm thinking academic subject,
that's what I was thinking when I asked that question. Yeah.
I enjoyed the math kind of stuff until I had one teacher that that kind of ruined it for me, because I was one of those kids that would work ahead in the book. And so I was on like chapter 11 when everybody else was on chapter 7 in the class, because I was just doing this. I loved it. And we were supposed to like do answers on the chalkboard, work out problems on the chalkboard. And so I would flip back in my notebook from, oh, I did that like 3 weeks ago. So I would be just reading it. And he got really upset that I was working ahead. I
Oh my
wasn't
gosh.
getting the answers wrong. He just was upset that I wasn't going at the pace that he thought I needed to go.
That he had
And-
taught it to you. Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
so this is the kind of student I was in high school. I spent the rest of the semester sitting back in my desk with my book closed and my arms folded, just staring at him.
Oh.
And then I really dug English after that.
Good choice.
Literature and all of that sort of thing. Creative writing. I enjoyed that.
Sounds good. Well, thank you
Thanks for the
Allison.
question,
for
Allison.
your answer.
Gary Shirk, you're up next with Randy. What do you got?
Hello, thank you. I just was curious about your necklace, Randy. Can you tell a little bit about it, where it came from and what it is? And
It came from the
Story.
same place as these curtains. We
or
took a
tell
trip.
about the curtains too. Then. Somebody else was asking about them.
Yeah, Gary, we discovered City Buddha, and we found out that they were going out of business. And so we stopped unpacking stuff yesterday for a while so that we could go to City Buddha and get some things. And so Joy found these curtains there. I got this and another couple of necklaces. This is an infinity symbol. It's made of wood, and I think the ends of it are supposed to be hearts. They kind of have little indentions like their hearts, but it came from City Buddha. And I like the infinity symbol because I do think that we just have such a limited view, a limited scope of things when we get stressed out and anxious about what's going on in our lives. And so just remembering how big the universe is and how what infinity might even be. I can't picture it in my head, but just the idea of don't sweat the small stuff and it's all small stuff. This is kind of a reminder about that to me.
Thank you.
We have time for one last question. It comes from Lori Albright. Lori, you're on with Randy.
Randy, it is so great to have you here. I am so excited.
Thanks, Lori.
I have a very mundane question just about the area, because you live in University Heights and Brian and I live in University Heights. And so nearby restaurants is the subject of the question. I know you haven't been here long, but I'm just curious if you've been able to get out to any at all, like some of the Lee Road restaurants and stuff. And just wanted to say Anatolia, the Turkish restaurant, is one of our favorites. And
it has been
found
recommended. We have not really explored restaurants very much. We've done simple stuff that we can eat fast and get back to work, because we've just been plugging away at unboxing things and getting things where we want to. Really, we've been focused on making sure that our kitchen is unpacked and our clothes and our bedroom area is unpacked. And I think we're getting our toiletries in the bathroom unpacked pretty full steam ahead. And everything else, we'll wait a bit to get all the books out of boxes, but the stuff we need to live has been our priority, which has meant that we've been getting simple stuff. We tried a couple of pizza places in the area, but not any really nice Turkish restaurants or anything. So we're gonna have to do that. I will say that we live on a block with a lot of great neighbors that have already introduced themselves, and a couple of houses down have already said that they want to go out to dinner. So we're going to figure out something with them. And our block is having a block party toward the end of the month. They like close down the street and have the fire truck and the police come by and a piñata. And so we're getting to meet a lot of folks here that we're going to be able to explore the area with too. So I'm excited about that.
That's wonderful. Well, welcome to University Heights and UUCC.
Thank you, Lori.
I'm gonna let
Thanks,
us
Randy.
proceed and run 2 minutes over because Dawn has a question I'd love to hear her ask. So Carol, would you please turn Dawn back on? And Dawn, you get one more shot at Randy.
Okay, I'm so sorry because I just finished this myself, so I have to find out. Have you watched Loki?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, darn. So I can't ask you this follow-up, which is what did you think about it? But yeah, your infinity necklace made me think about that.
Oh, okay. I am a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I did collect comics. I had the entire crossover thing of the Infinity Gauntlet stuff when I was collecting comics back in the day. And there was a point at which Joy and I were moving, and I really looked long and hard at the collection of comics that I had, and I sold them, and it paid for the move. But I stopped collecting comics after that. But I'm a fan of the MCU, and I plan on watching Loki. I have seen the other series, and I've enjoyed them. Especially, I think they've gotten better. So I'm hopeful that Loki just continues that trend.
Oh, I've got big opinions about it. We'll talk about, you let me know when you're done watching it. I got big opinions, but I will tell you, way out on the west side of town, there's a comic book shop called Carol and John's Comic Shop. And the owner has built a fantastic community around comics and on Facebook. And he has been a great partner to me with Comics at the Corner. So if you're ever looking for a recommendation about a place to travel, that's a good one to start.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn, and thanks, Randy. So we have no comments from the audience to read tonight. For future shows, there aren't that many left. Too many comments or questions to share, please send them to zoomin@uucleveland.org. That's ZOOMIN @uucleveland.org. There it is right there. Zoomin@uucleveland.org. So, Randy, thanks for being our special guest tonight. Our next show is going to be on Monday, August 23rd. This will be our next to last show, and you won't want to miss it. Because you see, you might think that having one Partain on our show is enough, but we are doubling down. Our next show will feature special guest Joy Partain, who some of you might know as Randy's spouse, but you'll know a whole lot more about her and not think about her as much as being Randy's spouse after you hear that interview with her in a couple of weeks. I'll be doing that interview with my co-host, Claudia Victorov. And of course, we'll have the Jack Ullman Comedy Moment. So join us on August 23rd for our next episode of UUCC Zoom In Live. So we're running out of show, gang. So let's give a major league round of applause to Carol Gay, our producer. As I say each show, my co-host and I do the easy stuff. Carol has to make sure that things actually happen. So thank you, Carol. And as a reminder, if you'd like to catch up with your fellow congregants after the show, just stay right here for a chance to chat with your fellow UUs. Carol will get you squared away following our wrap-up music. We're going to leave you tonight with one of my all-time favorite songs, If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot. So hang out with us for 4 more minutes and listen to this terrific song. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for our next episode of UUCC Zoom In Live. Randy, say good night to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Have a great evening.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong with chains upon my feet. You know that ghost is me, and I will never be set free as long as I'm a ghost that you can't see. If I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could tell. Just like a paperback novel, the kind the drugstore sells. When you reach the part where the heartaches come, the hero would be me. The heroes often fail, and you won't read that book again because the ending's just too hard to take. I'd walk away like a movie star who gets burned in a three-way script. Enter number two, a movie queen to play the scene of bringing all the good things out in me. But for now, love, let's be real. I never thought I could act this way, and I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone, and I just can't get it back. If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong, with chains upon my feet. The stories always end. If you read between the lines, you'll know that I'm just trying to understand the feelings that you lack. I never thought I could feel this way, and I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone, and I just can't get it back.
Okay, I'm promoting people to panelists. It'll take a minute before I get everybody covered.
Okay.
You can turn your cameras on if I've gotten you.
I can't hear you, Carol.
You can turn your cameras on if I've
Oh,
gotten you promoted to panelist. There's Lori.
Why is my camera icon not showing up?
That's beyond my skill set.
I don't know. It usually does. Oh, here.
There we go. Okay, everybody can put cameras on.
A great show. It was wonderful to meet Randy and have a bit of a chance to get to know. And Randy, if you're still there, yeah, hi there.
Randy is still here.
all right.
Good.
I didn't make the cut to log off, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, really great. I look forward to our conversation tomorrow afternoon on the racial
Yeah, me
justice
too.
leadership team.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
I am going to head out, though. It's been great seeing you all here. Apparently, I need to
it's
catch
fun.
up on some Loki.
Sounds like it. Yep.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet either.
So I will see you all soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Take
very good.
care.
Good night.
Bye, Randy.
Good night.
So Carol, it's happy birthday.
It is.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's always
I
good to
could-
make another one.
I could tell you one of the things Carol did on her birthday today, because I was there. I think you all know that our congregation rents space to a Buddhist group that meets
Yeah.
regularly and that sort of thing. And so they asked the board, UUCC, if we would join them, support them in recognizing today is the 76th anniversary of the bombing at Nagasaki. And so we agreed that we would do that. And so Carol and I represented our congregation. So it was Reverend Anita Carzan and Carol and I, and there was one other person that came, and we carried out the bell onto the picnic table, and we rang our bell, and we said a meditation. And I was, also thinking about Carol's birthday as we were wishing everyone peace and ease and happiness.
Oh.
I'll tell you, I could win any quiz on when the bombing of Nagasaki was because.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
And President Nixon resigned on my birthday. So
Oh.
Oh, I did.
what can I say?
Oh, yeah, that August. Yeah. Oh, wow. All kinds of significant events besides being born, Carol.
Right, but
happened on that day.
I suspect other people remember things born on their birthdays. So you cover the whole year if everybody remembers their own birthday.
Some of us don't have anything big happening.
I can't think of, yeah, I can't think of anything.
I think if you went to search on what happened on this date in history,
There
would
you
find
go.
a whole load of things you don't care about.
I'll tell you something about my birthday, which is January 14th, which January 14th, 1867 is when our congregation began with the Bond of Union.
Oh, wow. Who knew?
Yeah.
Well, I did because she keeps track of the things for January 14th.
Right.
Cool. All right, now I'm curious. I'm gonna look up November 17th and see what. 17th.
I think the only August World Series game was also on August 9th. Not World Series, but All-Star game.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, in my case, Gary Kasparov lost the first game to Deep Blue. His computer lost at
Wow.
high level.
That means nothing to me, Cliff.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I figured. Well, that's what came up.
Yeah. Well, when the machine beats the man, that's kind of a big event.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of machines, did any of you see 60 Minutes last night, which was a repeat, where they had the dancing robots?
Oh, the robots? I
Yeah,
saw that one before. That is so cool.
That is.
It is
Yes.
amazing.
It is. It's hard not to believe that it's like actually a human, like that it, because it moves in such a human-like way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool episode. Yeah.
The scene where there are 3 or 4 of them are dancing to what was the tune?
The
they were
mashed potatoes.
doing the mash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very fun, it's a very fun.
It's hard to imagine what things are going to be like given another 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
As a species, that is, but and the machines don't all take over.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Well, they've been calling for that for the past 40 years, so
Yeah.
we're
Right.
still waiting.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they'll do better than we're doing at the moment.
I think we have to start worrying when they form unions.
Right. Well, will company owners be against them forming the union? So that'll be a big question.
Oh, they probably will on principle,
Yeah.
Oh, well, so I have to say, as a member of the search committee, that once again, it was a joy to listen to Randy, and I've had opportunity to listen to him much more than the rest of you. I'm curious how you felt about hearing him today.
I liked what I heard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was my,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you say, Nancy.
I was going to say, this is my first real opportunity. I've heard, virtually his sermon, but wasn't around during search week and haven't been in town since he came, so I haven't met him at all. And it was just really fun to hear him so ably answer so many questions, and really liked what I heard.
Yeah, I thought he seems really, he doesn't seem as low key when you see him like on a Sunday when but he seemed so low key in that interview. I really enjoyed hearing him. He just seemed very relaxed and like he was having fun, and he seemed at ease. I thought kind of fun to see him that way. So I'm sure that there's more of that in his personality that we'll probably get to know as he gets more comfortable with all of us, and it's not such formal greeting type, he's in the robe and we're the congregants and he's the minister, I think.
Yeah,
get to
he does. He seems really real, that he's not what you think of a typical minister, that separation. It's like, and this is about the third time only on Zoom because I haven't heard him at any sermons or anything or church. But this is maybe about the third time I've been, either maybe a few Sunday mornings. I think he did Sunday, but he just seems like one of your buddies, that you could have a coffee or beer, or there isn't that. And maybe and the idea tonight, even, it's like every time I've heard him a few times, Lori, it's like you get to know him better or a little bit of a different way. And I was going to ask the question about where is joy? Is that like, and then David said, well, next week, stay tuned. So it was like
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow. I mean, and I've had a few experiences with ministers. So this guy is really one of your, who I think you could, and who is genuinely interested in who you are. I mean, that is rare that today. I mean, to be genuine, a person may talk that way and be good the first couple of times you meet him or right away, but I think Laura, you got to really